Hey nerds, Sage is here, and today we're talking about a creep. The worst kind of creep. The power creep. Now, last time we talked about, meta, Reinhardt, and all that fun stuff. Someone actually told me, at least according to, how they viewed it, that there was no such thing as power creep in this game. And for those who don't know what power creep is, it's a gacha game kind of, well, it's actually several sort of free-to-play game kind of thing. It's a term. It basically means that every so often as new things are added, things eventually become more powerful than the others. And this person was arguing that there was no such thing as power creep in this game because technically we were still using Reinhardt and we were still using dancers, etc., etc., etc. So, first up, no. I'm gonna just ask you to take a seat. I would do it nicely, but bitch, take a seat. We're gonna have to talk about this, okay? Because I think the best way to address this is, well, first we're gonna talk about how exactly things have changed with power creep, or how exactly what units kind of altered the equation, obviously. So when the dev team was interviewed during that whole session where they were saying, oh, we're trying to avoid power creep as much as possible, they were releasing certain characters that we all know very well into the game that were incredibly powerful. I'm, of course, talking about our lovely little Brave units, which everyone is super excited for, I'm sure, right? I'm talking, of course, about... Where are you? My dear Brave Lynn. What the heck? Ah, there we are. As you can see, I still need to work out... Who did I even partner with you? I think I did that as a joke. No, I did that with Olivia. That was not a joke.
And in that dream, you saved me.
Alright, well, during that point in time, they were releasing Brave units, which are the definition of overpowered, the best units we've ever seen in the game up until this point, with a lot of their stats not being affected by things like Cavaliers and, if they're, infantry or what exactly is going on there. They don't have any real change in stats and how they work. So naturally, we got some really powerful units out of that. Not only that, but a lot of them had a legendary weapon. Two of them came with full sets, like, of course, Bravelyn, she already had, Seke's Blessing, Swift Sparrow, not threatened defense, attack smoke. That makes me cry. But still, nonetheless, during this point they were talking about how, oh, we're gonna avoid, power creep. But the thing is, you can't avoid power creep. Not in a game, not in a free-to-play game like this, where you need to generate revenue from getting things like summonings and, basically currency to use in the game. It's unavoidable. It's just something that happens, and people oftentimes ask me, well, that's not a good example. It's just a character, sometimes characters come out that are stronger. Well, okay, then let's talk about the fact that there are weapons now more than ever that have become, over time, a lot stronger. To give you an example, I'm going to have to use a character that I still haven't finished, and I probably should, because I have a lot of him, and it's probably a good idea to do so. But, here is Lucas, and Lucas has a very peculiar weapon by the name of a Killer Lance that accelerates special trigger cooldown. Here's the thing. These came out for a few units. I forget who else has a Killer Lance. I'm pretty sure Perry has one as well. But the thing is, Killer Lances right now, they really have no reason to exist because, well, just a little while ago, we got Nephany, who has a Sleighing Lance, and oh boy, look at that. Look at what it does. Not only that, it has a higher might. That is the very definition of power creep. Eventually, newer, better weapons are going to be developed and added into the game. Thankfully, due to how this game works, skill inheritance allows things like that Sleighing Lance that would be, pretty good on Nephany, but probably even better on Lucas, to be transferred over. At least if you have a steady breath Lucas, which I don't. Don't want to kill a Brave Ike for that, but still, nonetheless, you get the idea, right? Simply put, as time goes along, things are going to get stronger and stronger and stronger because, well, they need to make units that are different, much more powerful, much more interesting. And that's just how it's going to be. There's no way really to avoid power creep. And to deny that it exists is simply a fool's errand in a lot of ways. Another good example is, oftentimes, I need to find someone who actually has one of these weapons because I honestly forgot. Let me just... I actually need to remember what units have a Silver Lance Plus because I don't think I remember too much. Oh, yes. Technically, I guess that will work. Let me just go up to my Effie. There's my Effie. Well, she's using Brave Lance Plus now. That doesn't change the point. So, Silver Lance Plus, up until this point, was basically just a... silver weapons were meant to be a really high might weapon. They didn't really have anything advantage-wise to them. Okay? Simple enough. Nothing too crazy. High might, high reward when, hit. They do damage. Simple enough, right? Well, then, a little while ago, we got the release of Roderick, who has a very interesting weapon. And let's see if I can't... thank God I have a few of these units hanging around. And then came the introduction of Fire Sweep. Well, actually, technically we had Faye before then with the Fire Sweep bow, but I don't have Faye on me, and I feel this is probably a bit of a better example. And Fire Sweep basically disallows counterattacks, in a sense, and look at that. It has the might of a silver weapon. And people say, well, that's not a good example of power creep. I don't know what is. Not only that, but, now more than ever, we are also getting weapons that have very odd additional effects. Of course, we can't really talk about, the Choose Your Legends units. Their weapons are busted because, of course, not only do, they have an additional stat, which basically is, whatever, attack plus... whatever, speed plus for like Lyn, and then of course an additional effect that just adds things like Heavy Blade. We do have a few other units that are coming along that have shown us that they are changing. Mostly, we've had Aura from, I believe it was our good friend Lind here, who, has a... It basically has a, I believe, Life and Breath 2... Life and Breath? Breath of Life! Oh my god, what the... Life and Breath, guys, that's when you don't brush your teeth. Breath of Life. It has Breath of Life, too. But now, we have newer characters like our dancers here, who have, well, Breath of Life 3. And of course, you can stack that with certain effects, and you get the even higher amount of Breath of Life. And I believe it can go up to 15 if you put on things like actual Breath of Life and, the seal that you get. Yeah, it's definitely an alteration of how people perceive these kind of things, because these weapons are changing, and they're becoming a lot stronger. Granted, unlike say, Aura, it doesn't have the might, but it still means that they are trying to bring newer, powerful abilities to the weapons, and to try to avoid that, well, I mean, I'm welcome to see it. I'm fine seeing things like that. We complained about Brave Weapons, and then of course, we had Alencia. She got a legendary version of it. And then of course we got things like Wrath, Steady Breath, things that have altered the whole perspective of what is powerful right now, because now we have units that when they get hit, they trigger something. When they're below a certain stat, they are essentially triggering something as well. The things that they work towards are a lot easier to attain now. And to say that there is no power creep, well, guys, I hate to tell you this, but there is, okay? And while I know some of you might be pointing out, well, Fire Sweep weapons you know, if you get attacked, you don't counterattack either. Well, yes, technically you don't, but, you know, that's why you don't put something like distant counter on a unit that's using it. But that doesn't ignore the fact that it has the same might as a silver weapon, or, you know, the slaying weapons overtaking killing, or killer, whatever you want to call it. So, I mean, I say embrace it. Don't worry too much about it. It's only really a problem when the unit ends up behind a 5-star wall, and unfortunately a lot of those are. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and level up one of my Oscars here, and then I'm going to be fusing them all together to make a Super Oscar, so I'll see you later tonight when I do that. And yes, I mean later tonight, because I'm probably going to do that and do a little silly video of it. Hopefully, it will be the best Oscar you guys have ever seen! Yeah!